Welcome, everyone. This is VR Jungle, a Havoc podcast. As always, I am your host, Geraltzy, and today I have a very fun guest with me. We almost talked the whole entire show outside of this podcast, and I had to hey, we got to get this going. And today, from Gun Raiders, is Johan Yang. And like always, I let people do a better spiel than what I'm going to give them. So if you want to go ahead and take on and tell people who you are.
Hey, thank you, Matt. Glad to be here. Super fun to always talk about the game and VR in general. My name is Johan. I'm one of the co-founders of Gun Raiders Entertainment. Our first game is Gun Raiders. It's on the Oculus Quest store, and it's been doing really well. So
Yeah.
excited to be here to talk about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I was saying before this, it has been literally everywhere. From going from I guess you didn't go SideQuest, you went to App Labs instead, right? And then you went all the way from App Labs into the Oculus store, right?
Yeah, we started on the App Lab back in March,
Mm-hmm.
and at that time the game was pretty bare bones, but we wanted to kind of get feedback early on in the development process, and so we did that. And I think we benefit a lot from the App Lab. Like our game,
Yeah.
I think, has gotten so much better.
Oh, for sure. So, did you release it as like an alpha, or did you come out with the beta and let people play beta all the way to where it is now?
It's funny because like App Lab was beta and we're still in beta.
Oh, so even though it's in Oculus, you guys are still considering this a beta?
Yeah, because like we have so many things planned, and um, I don't. I mean, I think the game's only about 30% of what we really want the game to be.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
and so
awesome.
like
That's really
it's not
awesome.
even close.
That's
Yeah.
really awesome, especially for someone that really enjoys this game. Like, I know you guys have a very active Discord because I'm in there and I see people talk, and they're pretty passionate about just this game in general. And for a game to have an active Discord for people talking about, not only like, not even talking about competitive play, there's just people that talk about just the gameplay in general, about going in there and playing. And let me say, there's some really good players out there. So, being at 30% of a game completed, like, man, that people hearing that love this game should be really excited just from you here, from you saying that.
Yeah, for us, this is like a super long-term commitment for
Mm-hmm.
the team.
Yeah.
We want to continue to grow the game, and yeah, I don't think we're even close to what the game is like. We're not even close to the end of the roadmap.
So you have a roadmap that's out there now.
Yeah, we do, and it's kind of just like these high points of what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to change over time, but I think at least for now, it gives people a general idea of what's coming next.
Mm-hmm.
But we have even further like roadmap that's like maybe a year later. It's just, hey, maybe we could start doing this thing when the tech's better or when networking is better here and there. If Quest 3 comes out or Quest 4,
Yeah.
what we're gonna do? Or we're gonna offer like bigger maps or like more people per lobby and so on. So it really depends. But
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the cool things about our game is that we can expand it any way we want.
Yeah, for sure.
Just because the way we structure it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like, do you know the direction? Like, I know a lot of people I've talked to when they create a game, they start with an idea and then all of a sudden like they just go left field. Next thing it went from a first person shooter to all of a sudden like a baseball game. And it's like, well, how do you even go from this to that? And it's just like we start playing with things and then things just started jiving the correct way. So was this always the way that you guys envisioned this game being?
It's funny. So before this whole COVID thing,
Mm-hmm.
we started this game around end of 2019.
Okay, really?
Yeah, so we started building the game. It was initially supposed to be kind of this arena scale game where you could have 3-on-3 and then like a
Mm-hmm.
big warehouse. You can play the game.
Yeah.
So you're actually moving your body, like physical body, in the space.
Okay. So this
You
is
could
like
even play
commercial
it.
use.
Yeah, yeah, it was kind of for that initially, but and it was really fun because we had a few events. Essentially, it's kind of like Gun Raiders without jetpack, without dashing, and because you can't do that in real life. You're not gonna fly.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Put some jetpacks on real people and go like, go at it. Don't hit the ceiling.
yeah, yeah. So it was really interesting to see, like 3-on-3. It's almost
Yeah.
like playing laser tag or paintball in real life.
And so you actually
But
got to see
yeah,
that happen in real life before you guys switched ideas.
yeah. So we built that for like a couple months, and we tried it, and it was super fun.
Mm-hmm.
We had kids coming over to just like play 3-on-3 with each other, and it's easy for them to understand because they're actually they're not using stick motion like
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
locomotion. They're actually moving,
real feet.
running.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're really gunning for it, and we're like, oh man, this is kind of scary because they're like wearing a VR headset and running around this kind of huge warehouse.
Like, how many close calls were there? Like, no one ran into a wall. Like, obviously, like, you get to set a certain boundary, like so many feet away from a wall. Like, hey, like, you're going to hit this wall, so here's our red line scale.
Yeah. So fortunately, the tracking was really good for the events that we did.
That's good.
So there's no like injuries or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was great. So surprisingly, that worked really well.
Yeah.
But the core mechanic was the shooting and switching weapons and so on. That was pretty fun. But COVID happened, and so we're like, okay, oh, crap, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. No one's coming out and to try out the game anymore.
Uh-huh.
But we've been building the game like at home because of COVID, and then we we needed to test the game quite often. So
yeah,
we basically connect online to test. Like we're essentially playing Gun Raiders, online when we're testing it. And then we're like, okay, what if we just make the map bigger and change a few things here and there and see how that plays? And it became, it was quite fun because now we could have like maps that are 2 levels, 3 levels, and so on. And so we started from there.
Yeah. So are you, when everything is kind of back to normal, are you going to have like a kind of a mixture of the game, something that's made for standalone or PCVR at home for home use, and then go back to kind of that bigger arena? Or is this just a direction you're going to go and you're just going to kind of, that idea, let it rest?
It depends because like there's a lot of interest in, we call it location-based entertainment.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you heard of Sandbox VR. They're doing like kind of like these co-op based shooting, but then it's kind of 4 of your friends going to this place location, and you put on these VR headset and you can play games at this location. And they have several locations across North America.
I feel like I heard that on another podcast in VR that
right
about this.
Yeah. So like there is a demand for it for like a lot of the retail spaces out there. They're like, hey, we got space, what can we do here? Can we put in some cool VR experiences for our customers? And we might be able to, we might consider that, we might have like, Gun Raiders location based kind of version where people can, play 3-on-3. That's kind of interesting using the, the mechanics. Obviously there's not going to be jetpacks or dashing.
Yeah, but I mean, still just being able to do VR, like actually moving around. Like it's even like the haptic running that you could do that they're making with the slippery shoes, and you got that kind of treadmill that has like a bowl shape. Like even that isn't compared to actually life VR, because you're actually putting yourself in this world, even though you're in this like warehouse. Like if you put yourself in a warehouse, say you're like a football field by a football field, like pretty big, and then all of a sudden, like say you put Gun Raiders in there. Like you get to walk around, you actually get to be like immersed into the actual scenery, like as if you're actually in the universe that that your game is actually designed in, and that's way different than just sitting there running on a treadmill at your house.
It is. It's quite surreal because especially when you have like 4 or 5 other players with you physically.
Yeah.
And then it's just like it's pretty surreal. Like in real life, it's an empty warehouse where it's like a gym. We even tested it like a community gym, and it worked pretty well too. And it's pretty surreal. It almost feels like it feels like the future. It's just like we're playing this VR game in a physical space that we're running around. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I could definitely see more into like kind of like with a like a imagine going to a warehouse and it's like, hey, we're gonna give you 2 hours or say 2 to 4 hours, probably most likely an hour to 2 hours. I don't know how many people an average person can sit in VR for the first time for 4 hours without getting some sort of motion sickness or kind of
Right.
delirious. Because I know the first time I played VR, it took me a week to kind of figure out, hey brain, this is not real and this is the real life, and so you got to counter back and forth. So it took me like a week. So
Hmm.
just imagine sitting in a warehouse for an hour to 2 hours time, and they're like, we're gonna take you through so many stages. Like for the first 30 minutes here, you're gonna play this game. For the next 30 minutes here, we're gonna put you into the seated area where you're basically gonna do like a 4D VR amusement ride where you actually get to be in there. Like I know Quest has like that roller coaster game where you actually have a T Rex chasing you. Now imagine putting yourself
Right.
in like a 4D thing they have at like Six Flags or Disney World that actually shoots wind at your face while you're doing it and really get immersed. Like it's just gonna right now VR doesn't have a ceiling.
Hmm.
I don't see I just see above and beyond. Like right now, we can start seeing kind of the plateau of pancake games or flat screen games. Consoles and and computer games. Like those are gonna go stale for a second. But as VR is going, technology is getting better. Right now, a console is the only thing that's getting better with a console is maybe the graphics, maybe the speed.
Right.
VR is going to get smaller headsets, more immersive, faster FPS, faster. Everything is going to get faster and more high tech, and you're actually going to be like uh, in that movie Ready Player One type situation.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that like I think Facebook and Oculus they're spending so much resources on making this
Yeah.
happen. I think I think there's a huge commitment to the technology, and it's not just going to just go away. It's going to be a part of like a huge part of the gaming, especially when you see like a lot of the players now, especially for our game. They're they're really young players.
They are. Yeah. Yeah.
And so like it and they're really active
Mm-hmm.
in these multiplayer games too. And uh it's really like awesome to see that when we first started VR, we had these concerns about like are you really going to spend that much time in VR because of the physical nature of it.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, maybe you spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes. How about we build um, experiences for 15, 20 minutes? So we've done a lot of games in the past and for other studios. But then, we quickly realized that nowadays, especially the younger demographic, they're spending, 2 hours, 3 hours in
Yeah.
VR a day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's incredible to see. And they don't, it doesn't seem like it's slowing down.
No,
And
no,
so this
they're just gonna be
whole,
there
yeah,
longer.
yeah. And it's like this whole notion of like, oh, maybe they're going to spend 15 or 20 minutes before they get tired. It's like totally wrong now. Because like now they're spending like 2, 3 hours a day, which is really, really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, because with the kids now, it's just I grew up in the '90s. We had a Nintendo, but
Mm-hmm.
we were outside more than we cared about that Nintendo. We cared about you know running each other's bikes into each other's and putting our pegs into our spokes and making people get hurt. We shot each other with
Yeah.
BB guns. Like we had an exciting childhood, and now I see these kids now. It's just like they want to do is be in house, play video games. And the greatest thing
Yeah.
about it now with VR coming is there's still a disconnect of kind of when it came to Xbox, PlayStation, and PC that you're sitting down and the only thing you're moving was your fingers, your thumbs, and your eyes. And yeah, you were still, a lot of people don't think that it takes a lot of brains to play games, but you actually develop your reflexes and your eye reflexes with games. You're still developing, but the misconnect is you were sitting there probably drinking a soda, not doing anything. Well, now with
Right.
VR, these kids are most likely standing up, doing the real motions in real life, and they actually get to see their friends, or if they have friends from all over the place, like right in front of their face, seeing hand gestures, eventually mouth movements, you know, as things get bigger. So you actually get involved again. Those kids are getting that kind of communication skills that they were lacking when it was just like that weird 2005 to like 2015 range when VR was just upcoming and it was just console games.
Exactly. I think them spending more and more time in the kind of the VR, games right now. Uh, it, I think the key aspect to their experience is the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
They love just obviously there's a lot of like how people like that. There's a lot of annoying you know kids, or there's toxicity going on,
Yeah, the just
but that
security's
happens
not
in
there.
yeah, and then I mean, there's it's hard to hold them to the same standard as like adults for sure, but in general, like we're going in the right direction because it's a highly sociable like technology. Like it feels really cool to talk to someone in VR, and
Right.
I think that's a big part of their experience too.
Yeah, it goes outside the realm of just talking to someone and hearing their voice and playing a game compared to going to like VR chat and
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
having a conversation with them. And it gets really crazy when people have like full body locomotive kind of like they can do flips right in front of you. Like I saw this one guy on YouTube. He literally like does stuff in VR knowing he's going to get hurt, like trying to do flips or juggling, and he
Right,
just
right.
literally hits the because he doesn't know where the ground is at. He just smacks the ground so hard. I'm like, how are you not breaking your headset?
Yeah, I mean it's cool because like you see these full body avatars, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
you could see the gestures, the intent in the voice. So like the social aspect of it has kind of been elevated
Yeah.
in gaming, in my opinion. So to me, like I think there's also a reason for our game to be kind of one of the most popular games on the. I guess if you go to the most popular category, we're up there. I think we're top five.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with the social aspect of it. We have
Mm-hmm.
people just being able to kind of hang out in our social hub. Like we have that city. Like, well, it's
Yeah,
not
you
really a
load
city
right
now,
into
but
it. Yeah, that's the
yeah, you
first
load
thing I
right
really
into it.
noticed is that like
Yeah.
when I first loaded into your guys' game, I was just like, "Am I in a match?" Like I have no clue what's going on, and then I'm just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I have a gun. It'll let me pick guns from the menu up there." And then you just walk out, and all these people are just talking to each other, having a grand old time. I'm just like, oh, this is just a big social lobby. And if I want to go back to the main area, you don't even have to find exactly where you came from. You can just go back, hit the menu, and it'll teleport you
Right.
there. You can do the tutorial, and then you can find a match. And you can even have private lobbies. A lot of games in VR, that's the number one thing they lack is starting a game with private lobbies.
Right. Right.
And so it's
Yeah.
always a plus
Yeah.
having that.
Yeah. So like initially we didn't have the social hub.
Hmm.
When we first launched the game on the App Lab, it was just like we put you straight into a free for all match, and that
Yeah,
to us was too intense for a lot of new players
yeah, I could agree with
because
that.
they're
Yeah,
like they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna start dying 10 times, 20 times now, I guess.
hmm,
And
yeah,
so that wasn't a really good first experience for new players. So we decided like, hey, what if there was like a social hub that you could just hang out and talk to people and kind of learn the mechanics there and practice. So that social hub's like it never ends.
hmm,
And feature for a game is that a lot of people just like hanging out in the social hub right now, which is interesting. And then with our current like Halloween update, like we have these nice Halloween set decks, and like you have these, like we have this giant pumpkin that you spawn in the air, and people are just having a good time like in this Halloween hub right now. So to us, I think that was really successful to experience for the game.
yeah, for sure. I love social hubs. I think it's like one of the greatest ideas, especially when it like comes to loading in matches. And like one of my
Mm-hmm.
games I play now, I'm not gonna get specifics with names because people probably already know what I'm talking about. But there's like
Mm-hmm.
a game that I'm playing now that I can play competitively in, right? And it's like just putting in a social lobby to load in games better to have full on matches with actual real people would be so beneficial, you know. And I think that's sometimes what it lacks is just like giving someone a, a kind of a getaway to not understand actual time that's happening between them trying to figure out who you can go up against.
Right, exactly. I think the social hub, it's probably going to be like one of the standard features for a lot of VR games moving forward if they're doing multiplayer. Because I think people tend to gravitate towards, just want to socialize initially before they even try
Yeah.
competing or try playing, or even co-op against certain things. They just want to kind of get to know each other first and be like, oh, what's going on? How do you play this game? How do you do things?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I've noticed it's kind of weird, but with the community of VR, is probably the most well put people when it comes to needing help. I haven't met one person that just tells me to go just like f off and be like I'm not dealing with. I have not
Yeah.
dealt with a situation with like that. Like I do a lot of these the testings for side quests, and I mentioned this before the podcast, and so. I get myself in these situations to where I start a game, I have no clue what's happening. And sometimes during my day that I stream, I go around and I just start talking to people like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? And I even met this one person that gave me all these high level Revamon to get me to the highest tier that I could for
Hmm.
that stream to actually give content. And if he never gave that to me, the average time to get to the second area in that game starting off is an average of 2 to 3 hours,
Wow.
and I didn't
Wow.
have that time. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially just testing and trying to give my opinion on it.
Right. Right.
So, what even got you even into development? I always like to ask people like, what got you into development? Like, did you start with this? Did you go to college for this? All that fun jazz.
Um, I guess I've been doing mods since a long time ago. That's like 30 years ago in probably 20. I don't know. It's too long ago.
Yeah.
30 years ago, when I was in high school, I started doing mods, and eventually, just loving games in general. And then, did a bunch of projects, after college,
Mm-hmm.
and made an indie game, and then also like eventually moving to VR. At that point, we were I was in Asia for some time, and
Yeah.
then so I started working with HTC. The first Vive.
Awesome.
We built games for that, and years later I moved back here to Vancouver, and then continued to work on like several VR projects, and just again started thinking about when Quest came out, just thinking about how can we do these kind of laser tag experience or paintball experience
Yeah.
in virtual reality, and that kind of started this whole path making Gun Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so glad that we actually made Gun Raiders for online, because we could really explore the mechanics of like climbing and jetpack, and I think those are really interesting mechanics, because you can't
Yeah.
get that experience anywhere else. I think it's only really in VR that you can get it.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's nowhere you can go. The only thing I could ever think that is like really crazy that is kind of safe is when you do that real life skydiving thing where it's just like a huge fan and it just shoots you up in
Right,
the
right,
air. That's the only thing that I
right.
could think that really gets crazy unless they ever make something that's in real life rock climbing that you can like hit a button and it projects you straight up. But still, there's always
Right.
risk when it comes to that. There's no risk in your house besides maybe punching, a wall here and there and busting out a ceiling fan. But
Breaking
yeah,
TVs.
yeah, I've seen videos of people break TVs. Every once in a while, I'll lose where I'm at. I've been playing some like just dabbling in all sorts of fun stuff. It's like right now, like I think this weekend I'll be playing like Resident Evil and stuff, and I know I'm gonna be
Yeah,
terrified, and I'm probably gonna run into
yeah,
a couple walls because that's a game that I know I'm probably gonna try and run in real life, and it's not gonna work
exactly.
out
Yeah.
very well for me.
Yeah, like your instincts are gonna tell you like, oh my god, I gotta run.
Yeah, so you said that you help with the HTC Vive. So since you said that, how do you think about the new headset that's coming out?
The Vive Flow.
Yeah.
What is it?
It,
Yeah.
I thought it was. Is it? I thought it was Port. Is it Viport or Viflow?
I think is it the one with like you look like bug eyes?
You look
Something
like Bug
that one?
Eyes. It literally
Yeah.
looks like you have sunglasses on and you're like a
Yeah.
hipster
Yeah.
from the 70s.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think they're going for a very different direction.
Yeah.
I'm a huge kind of VR gaming guy. Like I love interaction. I don't really like passive experiences myself.
Yeah.
So I feel like that device is kind of built for passive experience. It's kind of like Oculus Go
Yeah. Exactly.
or
Yeah.
like Daydream,
Mm-hmm.
Google Daydream, which is like now like totally
Yeah.
like it's not, they canceled the whole project. So I don't know. I'm not too sure about passive experiences myself because I don't really use it for
Mm-hmm.
passive experiences. And there's no controller at this point in time. But I do think that the form factor is really interesting because, like, uh, if the hardware technology that they have in that headset is incredible, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's getting smaller and smaller. So that to me is it's very exciting. It's just the use of it, and plus the price tag. I think it's a bit high
Yeah. It's like
at
five
like
hundred
for
dollars, right?
yeah, yeah, for like a passive kind of media
Yeah.
consumption device. Yeah.
Because you can't play any games on it, can you?
Yeah, because I think they're gonna do some sort of hand tracking, but then it's pretty limited to what you
Mm-hmm.
can do with hand tracking at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think you can play any, probably maybe like simple puzzle games that use your head.
Yeah. And like when I see stuff like this, when they try and make something smaller, like this one that we're talking about, and like the Oculus Go, like the only thing I could really see like the advantage when it comes to smaller type of things that aren't so bulky, so high powered, is maybe using it for like a virtual screen for people that like to have that virtual experience working, day to day at home. Um, or cinematic type of things. I know that they have things where you can actually load yourself into an actual football game or basketball game. I can see it going to that type of use, but I just don't see that use for it now. Being into like as my team is like a high competitive esports team, like I don't think that would fly for us.
Right, right. I do think that eventually, I think once you have this new generation that are so used to VR,
Mm-hmm.
that they would actually want to start consuming media in VR. And
Yeah,
so, like you said, I think this is interesting because, like, you brought up like jumping into a basketball game,
yeah,
for instance. I think that's going to be interesting in the future because it's already like you already see like these kind of uh, stereo 180-degree
mm-hmm.
like video
Yeah,
streaming to your device. I think that eventually might be interesting. um
mm-hmm.
I think it's just like it needs time to get there, but as
Yeah,
a gaming device,
yeah.
obviously it's not for gaming. But I think media consumption is going to become one of the key usage for VR moving forward though.
Oh, I 100% agree
Yeah
with that.
Mhm.
Because just with just think like even if they didn't charge a full wholesale price of 60 to like maybe up to $1,000 per seat, that they said, hey, you're gonna get front row seating and you get to have an experience because sometimes if it goes to a certain a push towards VR, like you might get like personal interviews with someone you really enjoy, like your favorite basketball player, like in your face,
Yeah.
and you can circle around them as if you're actually there touching them and all this cool stuff. And it's like, hey, like it's $5. If you want this experience, we're making people push this experience to you. $5, $10 here and there, or like you have some type of ESPN package. I could see that happening, and you get like for a huge sports fan, like being on the field, like watching the coach with someone that's sitting there seeing things from the sideline. Oh, I know for a fact it would sell thousands to a whole bunch of those hardcore football fans.
Yeah, for sure. Like I actually tried, some of those, like NBA or NHL, like those kind of like 180, uh,
Yeah,
video streaming
yeah,
in VR, and actually felt pretty cool. Like
mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, if that resolution was higher,
Yeah,
if the technology gets better, I think the experience is pretty incredible because like you do feel like you're kind of sitting on the sideline. So
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah, I could definitely agree with that. And that's the good thing
Mm-hmm.
about those smaller headsets is that they can push out higher than 4K resolution to you because you're not
Right,
really using it besides streaming that from one person's point of view to your headset.
right, right.
So the biggest problem would be literally your Wi-Fi consumption on the bandwidth that you're putting, out within your household. It's not going to be the resolution; it's just be your connectivity to the game.
Hmm, hmm.
But I was told the new headset it doesn't come with a battery in it.
Uh, that I think yeah, you hook it up here
A
to
battery brick.
well, yeah. I saw like there's some. I thought that was like there's like a wire that goes down
Yeah.
to is that to the battery or is that
No,
to
it doesn't even
the
come to battery. I was watching a podcast yesterday and listening to that, so I'm just repeating it because I thought it was very interesting that a headset doesn't
come with a
come
battery?
with a battery either. Like you have to buy the headset and then you have to buy some sort of alternative battery source. Either they're going to try and sell it as a monetized thing for their own earnings, or you're going to have to go to Google and spend $20 for a good one that's going to last you longer than 10, 20 hours. If you're going to watch a movie for 3 hours, you need something that is at least going to last you 4 to 5 hours of a consumption.
Hmm, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm very
No
interested in
battery.
finding the specs on that. I know it's the specs are fully released, and I know with that happening, you're starting to see more stuff from Facebook all of a sudden. You're starting to see stuff, especially from Apple. I'm really interested in seeing Apple's full specs. I'm a huge Apple
Right,
fan, and
right.
I already saw kind of mock-up looks of what it's going to look like, and it looks pretty sweet. I can say that. But what I could be looking at is completely fake because you can't always believe what you see on the internet. But I hope it looks like that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like I think the interesting thing is that once you have all these big players starting to kind of get more involved in VR, is in general like where I'm happy like because it certainly expands the market size right now
Yeah,
and that's what we need.
for
Yeah.
sure. And I think right now we're in a weird ripple effect, and I don't think a lot of people don't see that. Is they're just like, oh, VR stale here and there, but every time a summer happens, especially this summer since we opened back up, people were doing more things than ever before because they feel like they were locked up, and then they feel like they were gonna get locked up again. They had this
Yeah.
freedom, they were gonna do stuff. And what I meant by the whole domino effect thing is that last year we had a whole entire issue of getting consoles in people's hands just because of lack of creating things, lack of workers. A lot of things were going into effect. Like even for a point in time, it was hard to even get an Oculus. But I
Right.
know that I was looking for the PlayStation 5 and I couldn't get it because of the
Hmm.
situation. And so I picked up an Oculus. And the biggest thing that happened also is that all these kids asked for an Xbox or a PlayStation 5 and the parents couldn't get it. And so they
Hmm.
found an alternative. And an alternative was VR, and that was the first time
VR.
people
Yeah.
were experiencing it. And so what's happening now, all these kids that were fortunate enough to not get a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox. I say fortunate enough because VR blew my mind, and so I would probably never go back to PlayStation ever again. But yeah. So what's happening is all these kids are now relaying that information of their experience they're living day to day, and now they're telling their buddies. And so I can see all-time high sales happening within let's say like the next 3 years. The sales are gonna be off the charts, especially when it comes to standalone VR. It's kind of sad to say I don't really think PC VR is going to be getting any type of growth just because
Right.
the price tag on it. Not only do you have to know computers, you also have to know how the PC VR actually connects to your PC and to make sure you're always keeping up on your PC. And the graphic cards right now are almost impossible to find, and if you do find them, they're outrageously expensive. A whole bunch of factors there. So I think Quest is just gonna blow up.
I think so. I think this Christmas, I think we're going to see a huge surge
Mm-hmm.
in the player base as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting you brought it up because like we, we're a small studio. We didn't do any marketing essentially.
Yeah, that's
And
interesting.
we are just super surprised by the amount of active players, simply because like I think, our these players, like they're much younger than us. Like they go to school and they
Yeah.
talk, they tell their friends about it.
Hmm.
And it's funny because like all their friends all have quests.
Yeah.
Like and then like the word starts spreading, and then like everybody starts playing Gun Raiders. um and I think that's a really interesting situation for VR, is because like it felt kind of like the Nintendo days when it's like, hey, you got to try Mario or something, or you got to
Exactly.
try this
Yeah.
this game, Zelda. And so like they would have these headsets beside their bed, and they would wake up. They even play like a 20-minute session of it, and they go to school and they come back to school,
Uh-huh.
and we could see the spike in the player base. It's always like, after school it's like a huge spike, and then around the nighttime when they have to go to bed,
Yeah.
that's when it starts settles.
Hmm.
And then the next day it repeats and over again, and that's like really interesting. And that's when we knew that VR is actually spreading across these schools,
Yeah.
because it's based on word of mouth.
Yeah, and really the Oculus is very affordable
Yes,
for the
yeah.
consumer right now. And especially with them coming out with the 126 gig one that is still sold at the same price as the 60 gig one. That was huge, and especially
Yeah,
with
that's
these
huge.
games that are coming out that are a higher gig price. I went ahead and I kind of like I know how technology works, and so I just went ahead and bought the 256 one. Even though I
That's
know
awesome.
next year I'm gonna, as soon as they announce that Pro, I'll probably still keep my headset around, but I still plan on buying that Pro, just because I feel like they're gonna finally reach that full frame rate that we've been looking for.
Yeah, I think it's going to be exciting to, like, I think they're having a announcement soon, like, and on October 28th. That's they're going to have like
Yeah,
another
that's coming
face.
up. That's next week.
Yeah, yeah, Facebook Connect. So that, probably some big announcements there too. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I know Mark Zuckerberg. He is huge in VR, and you can see that. I think has the same passion that like you as a creator and us as players. The first time we put on a headset, I think he had that like kind of light bulb in his head. Like this might not be something now, but I give it like 5, 10 years, and it's going to be the biggest thing in the world. And
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think that he's going to have a huge part. Either two things going to happen. I know a lot of people want to see Quest leave. I mean Oculus leave Facebook's grasp just because things get monetized a little too much.
Hmm.
And but at the same time, I feel like having Facebook there is going to be them having their funding and everything about it is going to push them towards that type of oasis thing that we've been looking for. Like I have the beta play for Facebook Connect. I think that's what it is. I played it a little bit when it was first came out. The games were very. I felt like I was in kindergarten playing some of the games.
Right,
It was
right.
very basic, kind of like looking around locomotives. But so far, what I've heard so far is it is getting better. I got another email about playing the new beta test for it, so hopefully it's a little better. But I know that they're always developing and always trying to think of the next big thing.
Right, you're talking about the Horizon
Yeah, yeah, there is
worlds, right?
Horizon
Yeah,
Connect. Yeah,
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 yeah.
Facebook
You said
Horizon.
Connect.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say
Yeah.
Connect.
No, I think Facebook Horizon is interesting because like they spend a ton of time in the developing the tools too, so anybody can create worlds, and I think that's going to be huge.
Yeah,
Um, because I think creating worlds in VR and being able to kind of see them in like scale, it's really fun. And I think a lot of people will like it, especially the younger audience. Like
hmm
I think they like doing that. Um,
yeah, and it's always interesting when you give someone tools to kind of become a developer. It's
right,
already coded
exactly.
in. It's almost like the very first thing of Minecraft. This person
Yep.
had like I think when it very first started, he had like 4 bricks, like maybe not even that many. He's just like, hey, start building, and then it just became this bigger thing. But these people got to have their own servers. They got to be part of this big world. And like I've seen some
Yeah.
videos of this like unknown area that was on like the actual servers, live servers that lasted like 10 years, and it was beautiful. And like there's a whole history of this, and I'm like, this is
Hmm.
nuts. Like I guess it like had this huge glorifying like four creators, and then someone finally found it and destroyed it, and then people heard about the story and they rebuilt it. It's just like, and I feel like that's what VR is going to happen. I feel like they're going to start developing tools to allow people's creative minds to really um, enhance things, almost like the Oasis. Like the very beginning of Ready Player One is you get to be and do what you want in this world. You get to
And
it's
I
like
think, yeah,
whatever you imagine you can do.
I think it's like it's so interesting because it's all connected. Like not like it's not trying to say like trying to like advertise for Facebook or anything, but it really felt it feels like like every time you go into these worlds, like you feel like there's a sense of connection with the
Mm-hmm.
people that you socialize.
Yeah.
Yes, obviously there's bad apples in here and there, but in general, like the direction for like when I first started developing VR, I wasn't I wasn't huge in the social aspect of VR
Uh-huh.
until like the recent years that I started realizing how powerful it is. Um,
Yeah.
we've built a game in the past called Cloudlands VR Mini and that was our first game where we allow people to create their own mini golf courses,
Awesome.
and then we also allow people to connect and play with each other. That's when I started to realize. That was like I think back in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
so many years ago.
Yeah.
And that was when when we realized like, oh wow, VR, like socializing in VR is super powerful, and there's
Yeah.
just something about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
really gets people out of their shells. Like, I know there's probably, hundreds to if not thousands of introvert type of people that would never typically go out and make conversation. And
Hmm.
now they get those jitters of actually mentally thinking they're in the place that they get to dress the skin they want to be. They get to, be man, female, whatever they want to be.
Exactly.
They get to be who they perceive their actual self. If they feel like they're a woman, they can be a woman to go in there and talk to somebody. And
Hmm.
that's the great thing about VR is you get to fit in a skin that you really can't show people in real life, because if you do in the kind of crazy world we live in now, you get judged. And that's the worst thing about the real world that VR is so disconnected about, is you will not get judged in VR. I mean, obviously there are toxic people, but I think that's the greatest thing about VR is if you are like transgender and stuff like that, if you go in there, okay, that's cool. That's who you are. Let's do it. Let's play some
Yeah.
games. And I really love about that VR about that.
Same. And then I think the fun part is that I remember my first experience in VR chat was that I remember this little penguin guy, and he's got this Russian accent. I'm not sure if he's acting or but
Yeah.
it's just amazing. I'm like, wow, you can be a little penguin with a Russian accent talking to you, and
Yeah.
like this, his gestures and stuff, his avatar just looks hilarious. And I'm like, you can't get it anywhere else but in VR chat. That was amazing to me.
Oh, I remember this one time in VR chat. We all had this almost like giant baby skin, and
Oh my
it was like one of
god.
my very first VR experience I've ever had. And it's like when I used to just dabble in the craziest stuff and meet people, and it was like
Yeah.
10 of us in these giant baby avatars chasing
Oh my
people
god.
around, literally just saying "mama" for like an
Oh my
hour,
god.
for an hour chasing people around trying to find our
Oh
mom,
man.
and people were just
Yeah.
like, "This is creepy," because we have 10 babies just chasing us around. Like, I had a blast, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I think back to it now, I'm just like, that's obscene, that's so crazy, but still, I would do it again. I would do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, same. Like it's interesting because like if you think about that experience and if you think about like any other medium, it just kind of like it sounds stupid, but in VR it's actually incredible.
Yeah, in VR, it's not stupid. It's just
Yeah.
you find it so fascinating. I was playing a
Yeah.
game yesterday,
Mhm.
and this person wanted a hug, and so I came up to him and I gave him a hug, but he didn't know I also reached out my knife out of my pocket and I stabbed him right in the head
Oh
as
my
soon as he
god.
gave me a hug. Killed him.
Which game was this?
Oh, that was Pavlov.
Pavlov. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you see that a lot.
Yeah, and so you get some interesting characters in there. I had a kid come up, didn't know how to use his gun. Well, he was acting like it, and he just had this whole
Right.
spiel. I guarantee he does every time a game starts. He was just like, hey Mister, how do I shoot this gun?" And he points it at
Yeah.
himself and just blows his whole head off. I'm just like, "Oh my
I know, man.
god,
Like, yeah, I see
jeez."
that a lot in Pavlov too. It's just people playing their head off. And then like the first thing they come to our game is just like, hey, how do I shoot myself? And I'm like,
Exactly.
I don't think you can right now.
Yeah, it's always like people need to make a YouTube video that is way better at editing than I am. Like the top 10 things that you would do in VR that you wouldn't do in real life. And I guarantee there
Right.
probably might be something like that. It's like picking up a gun and playing Russian roulette with yourself. It
Right.
is like I
Right.
did that the
Exactly.
first time I saw a gun that I could spin the actual thing and shoot myself. I was just like, all right, let's see how lucky I am today.
And it feels kind of incredible too, because you're actually going through that motion. You do get that,
Yeah,
anxiety in some ways.
exactly.
You're like, is this really it?
Yeah, like we used to do it as kids with like airsoft guns. We had a couple
Right.
things where
Right.
we would do it. I mean, obviously it would still hurt, so we still had a lot of hesitation on it, but we were dumb kids. Like whatever, this is gonna hurt. With Gun Raiders, have you guys had any tournaments yet? Like, what's the competitive field you think's gonna be within the future of this game?
So we actually had a couple tournaments, and uh, I think a few of them were like team versus team, and we just had
Yeah.
a kind of like more casual tournament. I think 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, where it's we had this new weapon like the katana, and then we were just doing like one v one katana tournament,
Yeah.
and so it's just pretty and it's all kind of community like moderator, like our it's
Community driven.
we just let them do what they like, and we're like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
we'll help you guys with this tournament. But then they just love doing all these kind of stuff, and there's also like these mini game like every Friday there's like a group of players that loves to just like set up their own rules and just create all these different mini game rules, and then they're
Awesome.
just like in these private lobbies just playing these mini games, and everybody's invited.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was really interesting to see, and we're pretty open to that. We're just like, yeah, do anything you like. So it was like the game wasn't built for those things, but then they started being creative and then kind of create their own rule set, which is really cool.
Yeah. So so with this game, so it's basically just with team based kind of team deathmatch method ish kind of thing. I know you guys have a game like Capture the Flag where you have a center thing and you try and turn the point.
Right.
You guys gonna go anything more in depth with like a campaign, or even go even crazier and try and like I know the way this is playing and how fast paced this is, it could even potentially be built into like a fun battle royale mode. Where you have
Right.
everyone in your that little lobby area. It doesn't have to be a crazy outgrown map like Fortnite or anything like that. Like even having a fun game mode like a battle royale, just a solo mode, and you're jumping around this whole maze area
Mhm.
would be fun. It's like seeing people play tag in real life. They have competitive tag, and that's
Right.
what I would picture this game being in like a battle royale-ish kind of game style.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like game modes that we're planning to do, and we certainly want to do something that's kind of like larger map
Mm-hmm.
game mode, and taking elements from battle royale, because I think one interesting about our game is that when you die you don't have to wait and go to the next match, or you just respawn. So I think
Yeah.
we're going to take elements of like what's cool about battle royale or other games in the past, and just kind of like mix and match and see how it makes sense for the game, and kind of put our own spin on it. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. I think a couple of battle royale games have like fun respawns where it's like it is a huge map, but you always are respawning just to get going
Right.
at it, and it's like set for like 10 minutes, and pretty much the objective is just see how many kills you can get, and then you keep track of your kill death ratio.
Hmm.
Because I do like I think that's the number one thing that always turns me off of battle royales is that there is a highly good chance that you're loading into a map and you die instantly, and then you
Right.
go back and then you do it again. You go back
Yes. Yeah.
and then you do it again. And I get it. They're fun, they're addictive, and I think the best part is not always the gameplay, it's always how creative they're going to get with skins. Like Fortnite's skins lately are getting insane. Like I almost
Right.
got back on to try and get that Rick and Morty skin.
Yeah. Yeah. Skins, man. Like I think self-expression is even more powerful like in VR, and I think
Hmm.
that's why like customization is high on our list.
Yeah.
How do you want to customize your avatar? Like how do you want to represent yourself in our game? I think
Yeah.
that's really important. Like when we started developing the game, we're building the framework for the game modes and the structure of the game, and then now we're once that's kind of framework is there, we're starting to do more framework on
Hmm.
customization, like how does the game work for you.
Yeah.
And so even like maybe custom games in the future might be expanded in the sense that you could create your own rule set and can invite people to come play your own rule set.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. And even like there's a lot of casual players in our game right now, and I know that not all of them are competitive. So I think we need casual elements of the game. For instance, like maybe daily quests,
Yeah.
things that they can do on their at their own pace. I think those are important things to do.
Oh, for sure. Playability of like weekly quest, monthly quest, daily quest.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like the number one thing that always keeps me coming back to a game. Like there was one point I used to have a crazy addiction at playing like 4 PlayStation games where I would only play on them and try and get my dailies done.
Right.
And just get them done, have a good time, and then leave. And then I'm just like, all right, this is kind of getting tiring. Like I just got to pick one thing.
So certainly like we're going to expand.
Hmm.
There's going to be stuff for the top players to do, like competitive players to do. They
Yeah.
could compete at the level that they want to compete, or for instance like ranked matches, competitive matches. And we could also have tournaments around that. And then also like a big portion of our time is kind of, hey, how do we take care of our casual players and have enough content for them to enjoy in the game. So that's
Yeah.
something that so that's another pillar. And the other pillar is like self-expression. I think that's huge. Like
Yeah.
how do you represent yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, and so your customization of your character, is it you get a skin and your whole body changes, or are you allowing people to change individual items and earn individual items?
So ideally, it's like if we I see ourselves like doing that eventually, but right
Hmm.
now we're just so maxed out because we're a small team. We're trying to do
Yeah,
all these different things.
understandable for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But for now, it's kind of like your whole avatar changes if
Yeah,
you
okay.
if you switch. Yeah,
Yeah.
but eventually, I do want players to be able to like, hey, I want this this hat, or I
Hmm.
want you know this outfit, or I want these pants, or I want these shoes, I want these gloves that people can
Exactly.
see.
Yeah, yeah.
That is definitely something that we want to do in the
Hmm.
future.
Yeah, and so that was going to lead me to my next question if you said you're going to go that route. Um, with it being kind of individual selection, have you guys ever thought about doing like NFTs for characters that people are creating?
That's interesting, actually. Like, our one of our like co-founder, he's like really huge into crypto world,
Hmm.
and I mean, it's not something that it's. I wouldn't say like we're gonna explore it now, but it's like I don't know, like it might just be possible, one day. It's
It
just like
is.
what you're
Yeah,
gonna NFT your own creation, like your
hmm,
own avatar. That's super interesting because that's your identity. Like, why not?
exactly. And
Yeah.
so right now they're like the NFT thing because like that you're creating the character, and like sometimes you can have a certain headpiece, certain arm piece, certain leg piece that you have to earn. Like there's a game now called Blanco's Block Party, something like that, that is NFT
Right.
based game, and there's challenges packed behind this, and they never come back again. So once you earn it, it's yours, and you get to style your character whoever you want. And then it gets priced at a certain whatever threshold that people want to pay for it through the
Right.
NFT, whatever cryptocurrency you want to kind of back your product with.
Hmm.
And I've been seeing a lot of more information on the future NFTs, just because I really didn't know what it was until I played the game Revomon, because that's how they're
Right.
backing their game, is that you can make each Revomon an NFT, which would then be your property. And the only thing that really kind of turns me off at this point is one, it would ruin type of age gapping of people not understanding what they're getting themselves into, and
Right.
then two, there is a gray legal issue to where you, as the creator of the game, that's your property. Now someone's selling your
Hmm.
property, so but they're earning profit off of your profit. So you see what I'm saying? Like there's that
Yeah.
weird gray area that's like, where's the kickback to the dev that initially created that headpiece that you're now selling for $1,000? There's some people that I saw in Blanco that are selling some items that are probably more worth the full quantity of what the game has ever sold.
Right, for sure. I think the whole NFT thing is going to be interesting, especially when it comes to like original work and identity, like
Yeah.
in a virtual world like ours, or even like other, virtual worlds.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's something that's just going to be there. Like it's
For
going
sure, I agree.
yeah, yeah. It's just going to get more involved in these kind of virtual worlds, because it makes sense. Like if you want to like NFT or virtual identity, why shouldn't you not be
Mm-hmm.
able to? That's
Yeah,
kind of interesting.
because they never really explained in like the movie, or I don't think they even explained in the book what their currency was backed off of in Ready Player
Hmm.
One. You just know that they would earn items, and but they can also get money and items in real life as well, based off something they got in that game. And the only way
Right.
that is possible is through cryptocurrency and the transfer of
Exactly. Yeah.
USD. It's definitely because I've been just kind of dabbling into that because I've known cryptocurrency for some odd time in my life. I was one of those kids that when I was younger, I was one of the first people that bought Bitcoin when it was like dirt cheap, just to buy
That's
a fake ID online. It's just like not the most legal thing to do, but we did dumb stuff like that, and now it's just like
mhm.
I think it's price today is like $56,000 per coin. It's just like, geez,
Yeah.
it's a growing
Yeah.
thing, and it could implode one day. Who knows? The world is an ongoing turning of technology, and that's all it's becoming. Is we are in the technology age, as they say it.
Yeah, and then somehow like all these technology are just going to start kind of overlapping each other, like they're going to
Mm-hmm.
converge, and it's going to start making sense. Like, oh, in the virtual world you're going
Yeah.
to be using these currencies, and you're going to be, you're going to have these NFT in all these virtual worlds as well. And I guess that's kind of the whole metaverse that they're talking about,
Yeah.
right now. It's just like, how do all these things connect with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and how do we leverage all these, whether it's blockchain or VR technology, how do we leverage all that and kind of make it all make sense?
Exactly. And like that metaverse is whoever gets that created, and I think the image of the metaverse is that it's not really like you can still be a dev and create a game into it, but it's not like a standalone anymore. It's part of the metaverse now. Like you would
I think so.
see
Yeah.
a wall of all these kind of doorways that you can walk into, and sometimes, yeah, they might be blocked behind a purchasing, or there might
Hmm.
be a world for just demoing the game, and then at the end before you leave, you can leave an audio feedback instead of typing a feedback at that point, and you can actually have your hand gestures of like what you're trying to explain, because I think a lot of times emotion gets lost when typing something, and you can actually get their emotion and their actual needs and wants instead of just periods and capitalizations and all this. So very very fascinating. Very I can go on and on about talking about the VR, what the future of it, and I don't think anyone knows yet.
Yeah, I think it's just it's such a new thing that
Mm-hmm.
it's like probably the people that work in the industry and people like you that that are really passionate kind of can see it,
Yeah.
what it could become in the future. Yeah, but in general, the I guess the average non-tech user are probably like, what's metaverse, right? Isn't it just the
Exactly.
internet?
Yeah.
Isn't it just the internet?
Is it just the internet? Yeah. It's just not the whole connectivity of everything that you're about to involve yourself into.
Yeah. Yeah, so like it's going to be part of like, AR is going to be a huge part too. It's going to be a part of your real life eventually as well. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Man, they just need to figure out some type of diaper system for me because I really hate getting my headset off just to go to the bathroom. Like, you know,
Yes.
you know,
Oh, no.
can I get like some type of immersive catheter put in while I'm playing VR?
Oh man, hey, that's a new product idea.
I know, right? Yeah, someone's gonna steal. Someone's gonna be listening to this, and they're gonna be like, immersive catheter.
Yeah.
Brilliant idea.
Oh
Brilliant
man.
idea. I
Oh
think the
man.
worst thing would be, cleanliness and the installation of it every time you want to play VR.
Yeah. Right in the center of your room,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
your VR room.
But I think that's the
Oh
worst
man.
thing about playing VR is that I have to take my headset off to go to the bathroom, and that's the biggest problem.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Oh man.
is we're up on an hour now, and I try and I could probably talk to you. You're a phenomenal person to talk to, and
Oh, thank you.
I'm
Thank
really
you.
glad that this game is having success. I know that you said, Mike. I told you my first experience I played this game was completely ruined by the lovely people in your Discord. I definitely want to play again with not knowing who I'm going up against because I do like the mechanics of it. I love the guns, how they work. I like the loading. It was pretty smooth. Didn't have any problem with any type of lag at all. And if it ever was, it's probably on my end because I also stream a lot of the stuff as well. Uh,
you're on Quest 2, right?
yeah, I'm on Quest 2,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, and so I definitely think that this has a bright future, especially since you're saying that this is 30%. Anyone that's listened to this should be like completely excited for that news alone, and I can hear in your passion and in your voice that this will be a very successful game. You're just going to keep adding to it. So, is there anything else you want to kind of end with Gun Raiders or any type of future plans?
um. Well, first, thank you for having me. It's been super awesome just to talk about the game and
Yeah, no
VR in
problem.
general. Um, yeah, so like look forward to constant updates. We're gonna have Battle Pass coming soon.
Awesome.
We're gonna have a Christmas event. Like throughout this whole for the next few months, we're gonna do a lot of content updates and weapon
Yeah.
balance. I know you said you got destroyed by the Discord user.
Oh,
Those the Discord users, like there are like pretty much all the guys that are on leaderboards, they're on Discord.
yeah, and I
So
went
they're
up
like the
against
top
half
100.
the top people in your game, which in
Yeah.
reality, the best people in the world in your game, and
Yeah.
um,
but
I'm a very
but then
competitive
again,
person.
but then again, they have like 8 months of experience, like well
Yeah,
7. So like when we launched in back in March on App Lab, they've started playing, and then so they're super experienced. But also
yeah,
like we're trying to make it easier for new players too. Like I mentioned earlier, I think we have to do a better job in teaching the players mechanics, easing them into the difficulty levels,
hmm
and try not to match them with like these Discord players, which are like the top
yeah.
players of the world right now.
I will tell you right
uh,
now that was my biggest mistake.
yeah, like I can't even play like at all. Like I can't even get a kill on them. So like I understand like how it feels.
Yeah, I just broke out the shotgun and started lasering people in the head. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm done with this. You guys are taking a mouthful of lead with a shotgun.
So yes, certainly like more weapon balancing and
Awesome.
things like that. Yeah.
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 So awesome. I do like battle passes. I Number one thing that I do love about future technology in games is a development of a battle pass. It really gets me playing, and I'm not one of those people that will just buy out the battle pass just to be known as the person that already has everything. Um,
Right.
like I actually like playing it as much as I can, and when it comes to the end of it, if I didn't complete the battle pass, I would pay that, the rest of it out just to have it, because that's just, I'm a collector like that. And not only that, but it supports you guys. Do you know the price range of the battle pass? Is this one, the first one, be free? Is it gonna have like a like $10, $20 kind of type of deal?
Yeah, it's gonna sit around. We haven't really decided like concretely like on the pricing, but it's probably gonna sit around like 900 to 100 Raider coins in the game, which is about, I think if you get 1,000 Raider coins, it's about $8.
Oh, that ain't bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So something really affordable for everyone, and it also helped us, continue to develop the game and support us.
Yeah.
We're gonna have like I think 4 battle passes per year, so like 1 battle pass each season. So that's going to be
Awesome.
really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's gonna be like 100 tiers.
Yes, 100 tiers.
Awesome.
So lots of stuff to unlock
Yeah.
and level up.
No,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks again for coming on. Like you're a very enjoyable person to talk to. I love the passion that you have. I'm a very passionate person. So once I get that tone with somebody, I just feel like we can just go on forever.
Yeah, for sure.
But
For sure.
if you could send me like any type of social media, any type of links that you would want to be put in the description of this, you could just send me that and I'll add it to it. If you everyone out there that's listening to the audio or watching this on YouTube later, if you have not tried out Gun Raiders, I definitely recommend it. It is a phenomenal game. Don't do what I did. Don't jump into the Discord and start challenging some of the best people in the world. That's what I did. I told them that I was going to go in and destroy them, and they made me hate my life for 10 minutes straight. And so it was a blast.
Yeah. And and it's absolutely free. It's going to be free for forever. So yeah, be sure to check it out.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that you do that.
Yeah.
So when the battle pass comes out, definitely help them out with that. In any other way, I I know you guys give this free and it's a big thing. So I really hope at some point you guys get your what you guys put into this. You know what I mean? Because for a game like this to be so successful, definitely you all deserve something, for making something so great. So I really hope great success with you, everyone on your team, with you, and everyone that's listening. This is VR Jungle, a Havoc podcast, and like I said, go get Gun Raiders. Try it out now. It's free. Why not? Get
Yes.
on it.
Yes.
It's free. Hey, it's free.